بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه أما بعد. One of the very natural and innate in the human being is to seek always to be honored, to be respected, to be safeguarded, to be protected. All these aspects, require for a person to be in a position that he will be, having the what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called Al-Izza. Al-Izzatu is the honoring, the safeguarding. As the scholar of the Lugha, they said, Al-Sharaf wal-Hasanatu. Hasanati, kind of immunity, kind of being safeguarded, being protected. Therefore, one has to have something to lean on, to be protected. So the Izza, it has the source, the honoring, the protection, to be in a position to talk, from above, to have something that really, as people they say, warm you from the back, Lut alayhi salam, when he was addressing to his people, when he could not, push them away from what they were intending to do as obscenity, قال لو أن لي بكم قوة أو آوي إلى ركن شديد. If I have a power to use it against you, or will we, have a strong refuge to stand with me against you. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, my brother Lut alayhi salam, his strong refuge was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, in all these aspects, living this life, that type of the honoring that one is looking for, most of the people, they find it in the dunya. Because the honoring is not just to feel good, but really to make a person, in a way, have security, safety in his life, feeling like protected, and that sense of adherence. They adhere to a group, to a clan, to a movement, and that's what gives them, subhanAllah, the type of the Izzah. You find many people, for example, today, one of the deep explanation, if you can say a profound explanation, people, they follow the trend of not believing in God without knowing and without having any purpose, or without actually having any evidence, but a just sense of adherence, because the majority of the people, they say that they feel good about it, even for these gender things, people, they adhere to it because they're going to think they're going to be respected, they're going to have more business, and so on. So you see, subhanAllah, the honoring, it's a mean or a path for people to also to have gains, to have security, to have safety, and so on. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling us in the Quran that if you seek an honor, if you seek an izzah, the whole izzah belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. من كان يريد العزة فالعزة لله جميعا. All of it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, for example, this is in Surah Fatir that we read today, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah An-Nisa, blaming the hypocrite, how they taking allies, or having allies are the mushrikeen, the non-believer. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, why they are taking alliance? أَيَبْتَغُونَ عِنْدَهُمُ الْعِزَّةِ, are seeking to gain from them this honor, this protection, this high status, this humility, for example, that they're seeking. قَالَ فَإِنَّ الْعِزَّةَ لِلَّهِ جَمِيعًا. The whole izzah is for Allah. And He said, give the good news of such a people with, subhanAllah, a chastisement, painful chastisement, which is adabun alim in the akhirah. As a believer, we might, subhanAllah, get into a position where we feel good about things, and that's what boosts our moral, what gives us like strength. But when we look at it, it's not from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's something else. It might be the job, it might be someone's skills, it might be, some adherence to a certain party that they think, they have power, so you feel good. And that is not good. Why? Because it destroys your heart and kills your soul. Why? Because if you want that sense of honor, if you want that sense of respect, if you want that sense of high status, only get it from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَإِنَّ الْعِزَّةَ لِلَّهِ جَمِيعًا. قال من كان, whoever who's seeking the honoring, whoever seeking protection, whoever who's seeking dignity, he has to, as a believer, seek it within Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala side, seeking with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guidance, because every other path will lead to corruption. Every other path will lead, subhanallah, to destroy the person. The most dangerous emotion that we have is love. The most dangerous emotion that we have is love. Because when you love something, that love, as the scholar given explanation or like a parable, it's like, subhanallah, like having fire into the grass. So the fire, this love that burns everything, burns the dignity, burns the envy, burns anything that is good. The only thing that exists for that person is what they love. So subhanAllah, when it comes, for example, people who love the money, it's the most dangerous. People who love the money, they humiliate themselves for the money. They sell their life, their families, the dearest. Why? Because that love burns everything. And you can take example in your mind. For this, the reason this emotion, which is love, only has its honor, will help you in a positive way when you put this love in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger. Then when we come back to the Izza, is also type of love, because that emotion, you love something to give you security, to give you safety, to give you dignity. And then you only find it with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you are a true believer, therefore you have to strive within yourself to have that izzah. That love will be directed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to honor yourself. To honor yourself. فالله سبحانه وتعالى قال من كان يريد العزة فلله العزة جميعا إليه يصعد الكلم الطيب والعمل الصالح يرفعه. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said the good statement, the good words, قال يصعد, it ascends to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, Subhanallah walhamdulillah wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar, dearer to me in my heart than anything in this world. So when you say it, where it goes to Allah. And your righteous deeds, Allah will raise it up. Now, what is the relation between seeking the izzah and the good words that you say and the righteous deeds, other than the statement? From salah, from zakat, from sharing, for active. Subhanallah, that is the condition of the izzah. So the condition to have honor, to have a strength, to be regarded, to have, subhanallah, power, true power, which is mean help you to not submit to anything else except to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, are your deeds. فوين قال الله سبحانه وتعالى إليه يصعد الكلم الطيب والعمل الصالح يرفعه. So how can we connect, subhanallah? Dear brother, the first aspect of the izzah comes by you defeating yourself, your inner self, your low self. That's the izzah. So the izzah, it's not to have a power, to have, subhanallah, people, they have armies to kill people or to invade lands. No, the izzah first is to elevate yourself above your own low self. That's the izzah. To control your desire. Therefore, when you control it and you elevate yourself, you become a strong person. You defeat your fear, you defeat your desires, therefore you break the chain and the bondage of that inner self. That's the true izzah, dear brother, respected sister. That's the true izzah. Because when someone is elevated at this level, and only can be elevated at this level by the dhikr of Allah and the righteous deeds, then you liberate yourself from the low self. And when you liberate it, then you become a strong person. Nobody can scare you with the things. Nobody can, subhanallah, threaten you with anything, because you are attached to Allah and you already liberate yourself from the low self. Therefore, the Izzah, it's not, a power to defeat people, to show a strength against other people, to terrorize our people. No, the Izzah, the true honoring, the true safety and security, you only gain it when you elevate yourself above your own inner self. Then nobody can push you or threat you to lean. And this is very important, because there is people, when they think about the future, they think about the future, as someone was talking, you have to invest, for example, in the AI. This is the future. This is how the world is going to be great, how facilitate things. I said, subhanallah, is this true life that you are describing? And they are like looking at the people of Gaza, they should not have done such a thing. They should. Then when you think about the question mark, who has the Izzah? Is the Izzah for the one who looking for the future, progression, technology, science, a better standard of life, when it's all materialistic? Or people who are fighting for their freedom? Who have the Izzah? So the people who having the righteous deeds and working on liberating themselves, so they become like the most important thing in their life is to stand for the truth and to fight for the freedom. That is the Izzah. But when it becomes the Izzah, seeking a materialistic world and seeking high level among the industrial countries or whatever, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, this is the humiliation, not the Izzah. You see, then the Izzah, the true Izzah, is to have into yourself that standing for the truth, fighting for the freedom, that what make a human being to true be believer, to have their dignity and to have their Izzah. That's why the only way that help you to get it is only your good deeds. Only your good deeds. وَالْعَمَلُ الصَّالِحُ يَرْفَعُ. When the hypocrite, he said, if you go back to the Medina, we'll see the honored one will kick away the humiliated one. Who's the honored one? He's talking about himself. And who's talking about the one who's living? He's talking about the Prophet ﷺ. قَالَ لِيُخْرِجَنَّ الْأَعَزُّ مِنَ الْأَذَلِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tell them the Izzah is for Allah and His Messenger and the believers. But these people, they do not know. Therefore, when you define what is the Izzah and what is the true pride, what is the true honoring, that's what related to the true Tawheed. That's when you have that emotion of love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it make you stronger. It make you to defeat all the chain of the desire, of the chain of whatever humiliation, the chain of, to scare you, to threat you. And this is very important for us as a path of Aqidah to understand our people in Gaza. Because it's very important, because people, they will come to you after all this time and said, oh, they should not have done this. Said, what are you talking about? This is about the freedom, this is about dignity, this is about Izzah. If you lose this, you lose your sense of being a human being. For this reason, we have to remind ourselves that you don't own anything. You don't own anything. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created you and have honored you, and He gave you the guidance, and this guidance to help you fulfill your purpose of life. And He gave you everything you need. But when you come to the Day of Judgment, you find out that you don't own anything. Own anything. And this is what we have read in the last 2 rak'ah. When you come, without that Izzah, a person is going to be humiliated وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ in the hereafter. Because you have elevated the criteria and the standard of the worldly life above the criteria and the standard of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قَالِ هَذِهِ جَهَنَّمْ. Can you imagine what the meaning of هَذِهِ Jahannam? This is hellfire, which means everybody is going to see Jahannam. Everybody is going to see hellfire. You come without the Izzah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because if you have worked on the Izzah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're going to be in the shade of the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where there's no shade except His. But here, people, they're going to be looking at hellfire. And then, whatever you thought that they belong to you, they do not belong to you. The hands will speak. The feet will speak. قال اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم. And then the people, they will be saying, why are you talking against us? وقالوا لجلودهم لما شهدتم علينا قالوا أنطقنا الله الذي أنطق. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made us to speak. So when you connect things together, you're going to come in the day of judgment, you're not going to have anything. Even your body part, they belong to Allah, and they will be given to you in this dunya to be subservient, serving you, but they don't belong to you. They don't. The hand that you have, look before subhanAllah, today, look at your hand and you say, this hand is going to be witness against you or in your favor. The leg is going to, subhanAllah, witness. This is a reality that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put in the Quran. And for us as a believer to look at it as something that is certain. That's one of the striving that we need to do when we ponder the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, your skin is going to speak, you're not going to say something like, it's like a fiction. No, it's not a fiction, it's a reality, it's a certainty, it's certitude. Seeking the Izzah, which elevate you to correct your iman, which elevate you to make you a person with dignity, which elevate you to help you break down all those, break those chains, and that's how we become a believer, and that's how we become a worshipper, and that's how you can gain the khushu' and the focus, and that's how you can be nearer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestow upon us the gift of the Izzah, and bestow upon us the gift of the istiqamah, and to the salat yarhamkum.